I'm Dory.
My name's Justine.
My name's Loretta.
My name is Lori, and I work at Freedom a la carte.
Freedom a la carte is a catering business.
We employ survivors of trafficking and people who are clean and sober from drugs and alcohol.
Freedom is a nonprofit organization that helps human trafficking survivors get back on their feet, give them a chance to get back into the workforce. Freedom hired me on when I was still in treatment, and it had been years since I've worked a real job.
I wasn't sure exactly, how was I going to react with working with other people. And so it's helped me be able to have boundaries and a balance of working, showing up on time, gaining more responsibility and loyalty to the job, job readiness and training.
I've never really been good at this whole life thing. And Freedom kind of helps me with the whole responsibility of life thing.
Freedom a la carte provides me with a job, my first in 25 years. They've taught me how to have a work ethic, to show up on time, to show up for myself, to show up for the crew that I work for.
So Freedom does a lot. April is our case manager. She helps us set goals, things that we want to accomplish.
I hadn't had my license for 20 some years, and I had accumulated a great deal of fines. And Freedom paid off all of those fines so I could get my driver's license back.
They help you get back into life. Like, they helped me open up my first bank account. They helped me pay my first month's reinstatement fee, car insurance. They paid for my license because I was taking the bus back and forth to work.
Also, it helped me with the GED program.
They helped me get a computer for school.
They provide me a computer
so I can get my GED and then go to college.
Help me budget my money.
And now they're helping me do the match program, where I save up a certain amount of money and they match me and I get a new car.
And they're helping me with counseling right now.
Tutoring to help me with subjects that I also struggle with.
So I recently moved into my very first apartment, and I needed some dishes and, some household items, and Freedom was there. Within days, I had everything that I needed.
So it's just a very supportive company, that's kind of like holds your hand as you walk through this path.
Freedom is more than just a job. Like, it's family. Like, everyone here, I love everyone here. Management and my coworkers.
They save my life every day.
Freedom's helped change my life. Yeah.
Dana, thanks for sharing that video. I think it tells such an important story, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first presenter this morning for this event. I had to collect myself a couple of times during the video because it really is moving to see the work that organizations we're going to hear from today, like Freedom a la carte and 11th Candle, make in our communities. But it is my pleasure to introduce Paula Haynes, who is the CEO of Freedom a la carte and has led the organization since June of 2016. As you probably gathered from the video, Freedom a la carte is a nonprofit social enterprise that empowers survivors of sex trafficking and exploitation to build lives of freedom and self-sufficiency. In 2011, the nonprofit launched a food cart business to provide job skill training to survivors, which today has blossomed into a thriving box lunch and catering business, employing more than 120 survivors since 2014. Just this past Monday, April 5th, Freedom opened its first Freedom a la carte cafe and bakery at 123 East Spring Street in downtown Columbus. I had the ability to stop in there Monday, and it is really cool. There is so much energy in that place. And if you're downtown and can stop by for lunch, I think you would really enjoy the experience. But let me share a little bit about Paula. Paula began her work at Freedom in 2013 as a volunteer board member and founder of the Eat Up Columbus fundraising event. Paula leads the organization from an entrepreneurial perspective, having operated her own boutique marketing agency for 10 years. She was awarded a 2017 award as Nonprofit Executive Director of the Year and was named a Central Ohio Smart 50 Award honoree for her business leadership. Freedom a la carte has received the 2019 Aspire Social Enterprise of the Year Award, was named Best Caterer in 2019 and 20 by Columbus CEO Best of Business Award, and received the 2020 Nourishing Our Community Award from the Restaurant Association, the Ohio Restaurant Association. Now, you may have received something in the mail this week if you were one of the early registrants, and that would have included some cookies from Freedom a la carte, and I hope you've already enjoyed them. I've enjoyed at least one round of those treats so far. Excuse me. But you also, if you are a past president of your club in the last several years, you may have been able to enjoy one of Freedom a la carte's box lunches at the Pre-Pets event that we've hosted actually in my law office at Bricker and Eckler downtown. We did that for the first time back in March of 2016. And so if you've had that experience, what you understand is that not only are you helping support the recovery of women from devastating life circumstances, but you're also enjoying a fabulous lunch along the way. So it's with that I'd like to introduce Paula Haynes, CEO of Freedom a la carte. Thanks, Paula.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Mary Jane. And thanks so much for having me this morning. We, our family, big friends of Rotary. My husband was in the downtown Columbus Rotary for many years and still has many business and personal connections through that relationship. So we're very familiar with your dedication to service and privileged anytime I get a chance to talk to a group of Rotarians. So thanks for having me. And I really feel like I don't have much more to say after that video and that nice introduction. Like, I don't know what else to say, but I've got some slides. So we'll just look at some pictures together. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, let me see here. There we go. Sorry, guys. Yay, can you see that? Yay, okay, awesome.
We can.
So we talked about our mission. So our mission here at Freedom is all about empowering. We are so focused on the word empower. A lot of everything that we do in our organization, we take through that lens of if we're doing this, are we really empowering this survivor, or are we enabling her toward dependency? So empower is an important word to us. So we empower women that have experienced sex trafficking and exploitation and help them to build new lives and to become self-sufficient. So just a quick, very broad background on human trafficking. 4.8 million people around the world are forced into sexual exploitation every year. $150 billion business around the globe. So keep in mind, this is all about the money. It's all about the money. 3/4 of the human trafficking cases in the United States are sex trafficking. And Ohio is the 5th leading state in reports of human trafficking. And wow, you think that this is happening in these big cities around the United States, but not here in Central Ohio. And I just wanted to help you to understand that there's almost 3,000 American-born Ohio youth that are at risk each year for sex trafficking. And another 1,000 youth have been trafficked in the course of a 1-year period. Also, 92% of those that are arrested for prostitution, loitering, or solicitation are identified as victims of sex trafficking. So looking at those that we serve at Freedom a la carte, and this is through an internal report that was done a few years ago, 100% of the women that we work with, or the individuals that we work with, identify as women. Several are transgender that identify as women, but all under that umbrella. 32% entered prostitution before the age of 15 and as young as 3 years old. 70% were sexually abused as a minor. Half of them have traumatic brain injury. So when you look at job barriers, that's obviously a huge one. 64% have a felony, and 83% have children. So what that tells us is if we can help mom get on her feet, then we can really have a generational impact. So over the years, we've been doing this since 2009. And over the years, we've come up with this model that really has helped us to understand that this is a long-term process. Due to this extreme and complex trauma that the women have experienced, the healing and growth and restoration happens gradually over a long period of time. So we have 3 levels of service. Our first concentrates on restoration, and that is through our partnership with Catch Court and some outreach that we do. And in that period of time, we're just establishing relationships, connecting with women and building trust. And in the second phase is when we're really helping the women to grow through employment and developing independence. And we're just really in that period where we're preparing these women to be self-sufficient. And then our third and final stage is that of stability. And we're a long-term program where women can build connections and establish resources that will help them to be sustainable for life. And we call that our butterfly program. So just a little more depth about each of these. In our restoration period, that connection with Catch Court. Catch Court is a specialty docket here in Franklin County, specifically for women identified as victims of sex trafficking. And it's a 2-year probationary program. And so with that partnership, we come in every week at court. We're part of that team, and we're building connections with the women. We have a personal mentorship program where each woman is assigned a mentor from the community to help her along on her journey. This past year, we've had 64 mentors in the community. We also do a lot of outreach, especially through COVID, to help survivors and vulnerable women in the community get services. And so through COVID, we provided 7,500 SAC meals just to help with that food insecurity. And this past year, there were 37 women in the Catch program. But from there, we realized women were doing really great, but they couldn't get a job. So, why sometimes can you not? There we go. Technology. From there, we go on to our workforce development program. And this is where we really can pull women in and change lives. This is something that attracted me to the business originally, was this opportunity to provide women with jobs in order to help them to be able to help themselves and help their families. So this is where we really thrive and where we really concentrate. Over the past 5 years, we've helped 80 women with workforce development. And of those 80 women, only 83% of those have not received a new criminal charge. So we look at that because a lot of times when the women relapse and end up back on the street, they're picking up another charge somewhere. And so, there's a lot of savings to the community by keeping women out of that system. And that helps to show kind of the success that we're having. We also survey the women every year, and 100% of them will report that they have an increase in self-confidence and have more greater self-sufficiency from once they enter our program. We trained 26 women last year and over almost 9,000 workforce development hours last year as well. And then from there, we realized, gosh, women are doing great, but they get out of these programs and all their resources go away. So we saw this need for long-term stability, and that's when we developed the Butterfly program. So women are never without resources. There's always a way for them to get resources, and they can reach out to Freedom for that. So that includes case management, employment coaching, emergency housing assistance, helping with their, like you heard on the video, helping them with their driver's license or whatever needs they have, with schooling, with a tutor, whatever it might be. But again, through the lens of empowerment. So anything that's going to help them towards self-sufficiency, we are willing to do. So last year, we helped in all of these 3 different areas, 420 unduplicated survivors here in Central Ohio. 48 women we helped with assistance by paying utilities or housing. We helped 308 rides to work or to a healthcare appointment. So that was all last year in 2020. And then we also help with tattoo removal. So, you know, a lot of the women who've been trafficked have a branded tattoo, a lot of time on their neck or on their face, where the trafficker will tattoo his name. Sometimes it's in their private area and it'll say property of so-and-so or a gang name or whatever. It's important to get that removed. You know, you don't want to see that every day when you've come out of that life. You need to move on. So 26 women last year, we helped to get those brands removed. And some of the other success we've had through this program, this Butterfly program offers like lots of peer support. We call the women every month. They're getting together for their own social activities and those things. So we had 145 survivors active last year in that program. That means they're showing up to support group meetings. They're, you know, connecting with each other, connecting with us, reaching out for assistance, those kinds of things. 63% of them reported that they are living in stable housing. The thing that I love about these statistics is when we're trying to move women towards self-sufficiency, when we say in this last stage, when we go back and look at what's happening, to see that 77% of the women are not receiving financial assistance for housing, and 82% are no longer receiving Social Security assistance, that's helping us determine that they are becoming self-sufficient. So our catering business. So catering business started in 2011, and it over the past 4 years has been on this growth trend. So since 2016, in an industry where 5% growth is standard, we have been thanks to the community really killing it in the catering growth. And so we were on this really great growth trajectory until 2020 when COVID hit. And then obviously people aren't ordering catering for their events because no one's having an event, everyone's sitting at home. So we have these women employed during this crisis, and we had to figure out what to do. Like, how can we keep these women employed? We've got to find something for them to do, right? And so we created, we did a pivot and created a new product line that we call Freedom at Home. And it's a chef design meal kit delivery service that's a subscription model. And each week the women at Freedom a la carte will prep the meal, chop it up, put it all together in a bag, and send it to your home weekly. And all you have to do is throw it in a pan, saute it together, top it off with the seasonings, and you've got a delicious meal. So that is what we've added, and it's been successful. So we're kind of keeping that as a third product line. So that's always an opportunity for someone to get involved. You know, I love it because I don't have to think one day a week. I don't have to think about what I'm making for dinner. It's just going to show up at my door. I just have to do few quick things to it. the question I always hated as a mom was, what's for dinner, you know? It's going to be something, but just give me a minute to figure out what it's going to be. So this was mentioned in the intro, so I won't stay here. But yeah, we're very thankful to the community for the accolades that we've gotten. Something else that was kind of cool was last year, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce published a national publication on leading by example and showing different corporations that were leading the charge in eradicating human trafficking. And so Freedom a la carte was among those featured, and we were mentioned beside Deloitte, Marriott, UPS, and Walmart. And so it was very thrilling to be among that and featured among those highly regarded organizations. Just a brief look at some of the national, local, regional support that we're receiving from the community. We are a nonprofit, so we do receive grant funding and funding opportunities, but you know, our social enterprise does generate a profit, and that profit goes back into the services that we provide. And we did have a dream. So actually for 7 years, and yes, in 2014 was when we looked at our very first space in Columbus, trying to figure out where we wanted to open a cafe and where we wanted to establish as our home. We have been in 6 different locations as an organization that's only 12 years old. And so we knew we needed to set roots and wanted to open our doors, but it's very challenging to do a cafe and also catering out of the same place, and figuring out that downtown was our sweet spot where we needed to be to serve our women, but also be close to our customers. So this was a challenge. And like Price mentioned, we opened the cafe this past week. Really astounding. It still makes my jaw drop to think that in the middle of COVID, we were able to raise the money we needed to start construction last August on this renovation project. The renovation project was about a $1.2 million project. And we were able to get that done and open right in the middle of all of this, and people are coming in the doors and loving it. So it's still a dream come true. Like I said, 7 years. So I am just grateful to all of the people. Obviously, this takes a village to like bring all the resources together to make this happen. And it's just really fulfilling and satisfying to see it all come together. So ways that we invite you to join us. We do have volunteer opportunities at the cafe. People can sign up to come in, and as we have more and more people come in, we're going to have volunteers kind of share about freedom with guests, clear tables, run food out, that kind of thing. We also have volunteers in the kitchen, so you can work alongside survivors and help in the back of the house as well. We have the mentors, we have GED mentors, we have GED tutors, we're starting career mentors. So lots of different, if you have this expertise that you think we could use, we'd love to talk to you. And then of course, donations are always accepted and welcome, but also just supporting our business line. So ordering catering for your office at work, coming into the cafe, thinking, hey, maybe I would like to have Freedom a la carte delivered. We do only do that within the Columbus community, but if you're in Columbus, we'd love to help you out with that too. So again, this is our address, right downtown, right on Spring Street, open Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, and Saturdays, 8 to 3. And there's a look at our most recent team, although it's changed since then, so it's constantly changing. But I again appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all.
What a magnificent, powerful story, Paula. Thank you so much. We might have a minute or two for a couple of questions. Does anybody have any questions for Paula?
I have something that I was just going to point out
Yeah,
that Paula
go ahead,
referenced in her own remarks, that many of the people that she has worked with come through what's called the Catch Court, Franklin County Municipal Court program. Catch stands for Changing Actions to Change Habits. And that was started by Judge Paul Herbert in 2009. That's an amazing story on its own about what can be done to take women who would otherwise just be incarcerated and really put them into situations where their lives can be changed by organizations like Freedom a la carte. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, Paula.
And I'll just add that at the cafe, we've named a sandwich after Judge Herbert, and it's called the Don't Judge Me. So if you come to the cafe, you want to support Judge, just order that Don't Judge Me.
That's awesome. So it looks like I do have a couple of hands. Julia, you have your hand up.
Hi, I was just wondering, what is the most valuable or most needed resource, either financial or volunteer-wise, that y'all are looking for at the moment?
Well, you know, we're still finishing up this campaign. So although we've opened up, we still have about $300,000 more to raise. And so for me as the CEO, that's like top of line. We are gradually getting volunteers back in and active, but that's really gradual right now. It's not like we can use a flood of volunteers. We also are collecting supplies. We have this beautiful donation closet, and we have a Amazon account where you can purchase specific things that we use, mainly like black leggings, t-shirts and hoodies that zip up. Those are the things that we really appreciate. And if you have some of those that are gently used, we appreciate those as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula. We've got a time for maybe maybe two more quick questions. Tom, Carlisi, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Paula. Yeah, thank you, Paula, for your great contributions. And I'm just curious, as the women are successful in empowerment, do you have a mentoring program, or do they kind of buddy up with somebody brand new and as kind of a role model? Is that part of your program?
Yes. So originally they partner up with somebody from the community as a mentor, like in the initial journey. And then as they kind of progress from the journey, we're creating these peer support groups where they're small groups of peers, because we just see and have researched the value of that peer support.
Yes.
A lot of us are really fortunate to have healthy relationships and support in our life. You know, if something happens and your car breaks down, you've got 10 people on the list you can call. These women don't have that. And so instead of always calling us or our case manager, we're helping them to develop within themselves resource groups. And we're finding that to be really successful. So that's what we're concentrating on. And then we, like I mentioned, we do have like specific mentors for their GED when they're working toward that. And then also starting to pair women up with career mentors as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I know that there are several more questions. I know Diane and Callaway have a couple of questions, and I apologize, guys, but we probably, in order to keep our program on schedule, if you could just, maybe put your questions in chat, or Paula, if you've got an email or a contact information, if you put that in chat, and people maybe could communicate with you. But really do appreciate you coming this morning, sharing your story. Very powerful. You certainly did have and do have big dreams, and I so thankful for you helping these ladies that also have big dreams that probably people haven't recognized. And so you're giving them that dream of a life where they can succeed and be successful. So thank you so much. I do want to give you a shout out. The cookies are like phenomenal. So I don't know whose recipes those are, but not Callaway, but Price will probably eat, I don't know, 5 or 6 macaroons in one sitting. So he loves the macaroons. And also just FYI, our Rotary International President Shekar, another one of his initiatives is he wants us all to empower girls, to find projects to empower girls. And so I would love to chat with you maybe offline to see if there's some ways that the district as a whole could partner with you, or if there's something that we could do, because it does sound like some of the mentoring, volunteering, or so forth, that we might be able to do a project together or something. So I'd love to chat with you offline.
Please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, big woohoo, everybody. Give Paula a big hand. Woohoo! Excellent. All right, Dana, I think it's time to pull up that fabulous wheel graphic, because it's time for part 1 of our Dream Big workshop. Oh, looky what you, okay. All right. So now it's my pleasure to bring to the virtual stage your district membership chair, Jenny, foundation chair, Larry, and public image chair, Dave. I'm dubbing them your dream team for this morning's Dream Big workshop. So Dave, I believe you have the baton, so take it away.
The baton. Thanks, MJ. Welcome, everybody.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see so many people, and so many people we all know. So we wanted to talk about the wheel today, and we thought of this as using the flywheel concept, which was, I think, defined by Jim Collins in Good to Great, but it's all these different points of on the wheel take energy, and that adds to the momentum of a wheel. So that's the metaphor that we're using this morning. But as more energy is put in, the easier it is for that wheel to keep turning. So we do need to keep giving it energy, but the more energy we put in, the more momentum it gets. And just like as a wheel turns, as soon as you push on it to help it spin, that part of the wheel quickly moves through to another point on the arc. So all of these things are connected, but you can't stay in any one place on the wheel for very long. You have to keep going around and around the wheel, and each of these things build on each other. So we could start our discussion today talking about any one place on this wheel, but and no one place is more important than the other. But today we'll start at the top at 12 o'clock by straddling public image and membership and talking about how we attract and retain Rotarians. And we do that by being clear about why we exist and why it matters. So the stories that we heard from Freedom a la carte this morning were great in that video. They move us and they make us want to help because they're real. Those are real stories that we can connect to. And they aren't talking about what they do in that video. They're talking about the lives that they changed. So we attract and retain followers who have shared values, who believe that those things are important and those are things that we can change, dreams that we can have, and they're stories that we can relate to. So while our causes and our personalities in Rotary are many, our values overlap, our dreams overlap, but we're all going in a similar direction. So we need to be aware of what those values are, make personal connections where we see that those values are mutual, and then prove week in and week out that those values are more than just a slogan, more just things that we talk about, but things that we actually take action on and do. So by being who we say we are and who we aspire to be, that's how we attract others. We attract other people who also want to do and be what we are doing and share our values. So by the end of this segment, we'll come back around just to the left there about telling our Rotary story and how to convey those values. But before we do, I'm going to send it over to Jenny. Jenny, tell us about connecting and building the strength of the club.
Thanks, Dave. So when I look around our district, we're fortunate that we have many, many, many very strong clubs. And I actually think all of our clubs have different strengths and things that they bring to the table. And as I'm looking at this graphic, I see that you are in the center of it, right? Because we all have a part to play in how our clubs are able to accomplish their great work. And when I think about some of the strongest clubs that I've worked with or that I've had the opportunity to serve alongside, They're clubs that have high levels of engagement with their members because, right, our Rotary clubs don't belong to us as members, they belong to our communities. So when we engage as members, we build that strength in our club and we're able to engage, and kind of that becomes really, really attractive to other people to want to jump on board and serve alongside us. So when we talk about strengthening your club or creating vibrancy within your club, really focusing on the energy or setting an intention for engagement. And everything in Rotary, right, is an opportunity for engagement, because Rotary is not this brick and mortar institution that exists. Rotary exists among all of us. So engaging our members is the way that we're able to carry forward our important work and serve those communities that we, have pledged and have a responsibility to serve and represent and reflect. So I encourage everyone to think about what are ways that you as a member have engaged in service through your club, have engaged in the workings of your club, but also to think about the members that you serve, that serve on the left and the right of you. How are they engaging, and how can you pull them in? How can you pull them in and ask them to participate alongside you? So that's my little bitty mini challenge for everyone, is to think about one thing that you have done or that you could do to engage either in your own service or to engage that person to the left or to the right of you.
And so as you move around the wheel, obviously you come to funding, and as your foundation chair, obviously I get to be the money man sometimes, but I'm going to challenge you to look. I mean, we all know that just passion for service isn't always enough. It does take money to get the projects we want done. Just like Paula mentioned first, when you asked what does she need? Well, it took money to realize that dream of building a cafe and raising that. And anyone who's had to raise money, that can be a big task, one that keeps you up at night. But I also challenge you to think about raising money and what you do in your club in a little different way. We talk a lot about kind of that culture of giving and kind of developing that sense of belonging. And so I think by doing fundraising and giving, you also empower your members. You give them ownership. With good fundraisers that are both fun to do, I mean, you have that social aspects, it brings everyone together, but you also give your members a chance to say, I'm part of this. I have some ownership in this. This is my story. It's not somebody else's story. The same thing when you give to the Rotary Foundation. Then when you look at the works going on around the world, it gives you that sense, and hopefully that sense of pride to say, even though maybe I only gave $25 out of 800 million that's given out in the annual thing, I still have a piece of that. I have ownership in that Rotary story. And as Jenny said, collectively, when you bring that together, we all share that Rotary story. So don't kind of underestimate the power of fundraising and allowing people to give, because it gives them ownership. I think we always think of fundraising as like a transactional relationship, but really what you're doing is allowing people to buy into the story, buy into the journey. And obviously it's that money that sometimes gives the extra push to the wheel to give us momentum. So it also allows people to say that they were part of reaching that dream. So instead of, I think sometimes you put the money side over here because people think it's the hard part or it's distasteful, but it actually is part of the dream and part of the story. And we should be proud of what we do. We should be proud of the money we raise. So it's also part of the story when we come back to tell people what it means to be a Rotarian. I think you should be sharing those stories as well.
Yeah, great point, Larry. And I think, there's lots of ways to invest in Rotary. So there's the part that Larry was just talking about of this investment that you make in our work. And I think that lines up perfectly with the types of service projects that we do. So I know a lot of people on the call, I've visited your Rotary clubs, I've met with you in smaller group settings. And I typically start by asking a question, and that's, why are you a member of Rotary? Why did you join? Why have you stayed? A lot of us joined Rotary probably for the same reason. Someone asked us to, and so we did. And when I ask about why we stay, why are you engaged? Why does Rotary matter to you? The answers that I always get center around service and fellowship. So, right, people join and people stay in Rotary because of the good they can do and the people that they meet along the way, the people that they serve alongside. So I think when we think about service, it's much deeper for us, right? We see that output that we have, helping the community, serving the community. And I think that's a lot of, thinking back to Paula's presentation and to the Freedom a la carte video, right? We're seeing that output that's happening and that impact that's being made. But service can also be very personal for us. And remember, a few minutes ago, I said everything in Rotary is an opportunity for engagement. So when we look to that person to the left and to the right of us and pull them into the work that we're doing, we already know, right? That checks 2 boxes for membership. It checks the box of they joined because they want to serve the community, but also because of the people that they get to serve alongside. So one of the greatest ways to knit together those 2 reasons for being a part of our organization is to engage in a variety of service projects, big or small, ones that not only reflect the needs of your community, the communities that you're serving, but also reflect those kind of needs and drives that your members have, because they know they're a part of something that really matters, and they're a part of something where they can contribute their, their skills, their expertise. And when we center that engagement on service, we're kind of showing them that they're any financial investments they've made, right? They're getting to see and be a part of that work being carried out, but they're also getting to network. They're also getting out into the community and meeting new people. Forming friendships over hard work are some of the best friendships ever formed. And then they're getting to kind of stroke that like service need that we all, have. And I think that drives a lot of what keeps us motivated in Rotary. And so I think that's a way to make a really, really big impact. And I'm going to kick it back over to Larry to talk a little bit more about impact and value.
Right. So I think one of the things in our typical kind of Rotary, we're so focused on the events that we do and the next big thing that we tend to forget to take some time for the next part, which is the idea of kind of measuring and sharing our results. What was the impact? And again, it's not always the work the specific things we do, but the impact we have in the lives on the others. And the importance of measuring and sharing this is it obviously leads into the ability for us to tell our story to the outside people, but it also gives that sense of value to our members. Most people, as Jenny said, they come to Rotary because somebody asked. They joined because they wanted to serve. They stayed for the fellowship. But everybody belongs to things because of 2 things. One, they want to do something of value, but they also want to be valued for, what they bring to the table. So they want that sense of value, but they also want to make sure they're contributing. By measuring and sharing your stories, this is what gives that sense of impact to your members and hopefully motivates them to move on to that next thing, to maybe step up bigger, to do more. It builds that sense of service culture. It builds that sense of giving, that's the funding. All that thing comes together because you're basically allowing them to have that story and feel that impact. And so instead of measuring in, maybe the statistics and the finite times that we talk about, like how much money and how much, really the question is, did you change someone's life? Did you make it better for somebody? Did you give our own members the chance to do something that they wouldn't have done before? Those are powerful impacts. They may not measure on scales that we typically, put on, reports and sheets. But to me, that's what keeps people in Rotary. That's what keeps Rotary clubs thriving, is that fact that, again, that your members feel like they have value and they do something of value. So it is important to take time to measure those things and to share those results, which obviously then leads right back to kind of where we started with Dave.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah, I almost feel like there's nothing left to say, because I think you can all sort of see where this is going, that all of those points build on each other. And then really, finally, it comes around to just tell people about it. So public image requires 2 elements, essentially, and it's the story. What are you doing? So what? And now what? So why do we exist? And the second element is a connection. And the connection is not just the person that you're telling it to, but why are you telling it to that person? What is the connection and what is the relevance? So we have lots of ways we can deliver those messages, and we'll talk about that in a later session. We'll talk about that throughout the year, but really tell the story, tell it often, and make the story personal. Live the story. So, for example, a story may be, I believe I can have a positive impact on the world with some help. And the more helpers, the bigger the impact. That's why I serve with Rotarians, and that's why I give to the Rotary Foundation. So that doesn't have to be a poetic story. It just has to be a story, and it has to be real, and it has to be about you and relevant to the person that you're talking to. So we, again, are working on ways to, throughout the next year, to help tell that story better and help give clubs some tools and techniques for doing that. But it really comes down to each of you remembering to tell the story, connect with people on a regular basis, and tell the story about how your own life proves that you live those beliefs and that Rotary is a part of that. So on that note, Larry, I'm going to send it back to you to close us out.
So I think everyone's kind of picked up on the imagery of the wheel, and obviously the Rotary wheel. I think our creators knew what they were doing, our founders, when they picked this. The power of the gear wheel, if you know, and my background as an engineer, I always love the power of the gear wheel, because one small wheel doesn't necessarily have the power to do things, but when you start putting them together and making them work as a machine, that's where you build, you know, great locomotives and cars, and you can have that great motion to get momentum to take to the big dream. MJ is going to challenge everyone today to think about their personal story. What is their Rotary story? What is your journey? What we want to point out and end with looking at this diagram again is to bring it back to who's in the center. So if you look at the Rotary wheel and you understand the gear wheel, there's that little notch where we're pointing that you're at. That is called the keyhole in a gear wheel, and that is where you would insert a little key that holds the gear to the shaft. That's what does the work if you're looking at the machinery. And so it's important that that keyhole is there, because the key to Rotary is you. You're the thing that engages the work to the effort, to the momentum, and it's all then those other wheels of other Rotarians coming in that does great work. That's what allows us to dream big, to accomplish those big things. But in the center of it all, it's always you. You're in charge of your Rotary journey. You're in charge of your Rotary story. And I think the other danger is we a lot of times in Rotarian that, oh, I'm the you know, I do foundation or I do membership, or what we also want you to take away, you're in the center of the story. You're in charge of all of it. I mean, you're in charge of the story and the PR and the other things. The danger is to think that I only do one thing and I don't everything. If you're really engaged and working in Rotary, this wheel is you. This is your Rotary journey, and you're responsible and have a you know, a part to play and an ownership of all of this. And so that's kind of the imagery we want to leave you with. As we said, we'll talk more about how you can utilize these things later, but MJ's got a little exercise for you to talk about your Rotary journey.
Yep. Thank you. And don't you think why I call these guys my dream team? They're fabulous. Thank you, guys. And we will hear back from them later on. But yes, you know, the thing that I think is just really amazing, and you think about it, the gear wheel and what Larry talked about, how everything is interconnected. My story is interconnected with bringing members in and engaging individuals. And then getting more members allows us then to contribute to the foundation so that we can continue to do the great service projects that we're doing. And then the great service projects that we do then evolve into more stories that we can share. So it's really a beautiful thing. And it is, you know, and we can all share our big dreams. We all have dreams. We all have ideas and what we want to fulfill. So it's I'm good, Donald, until about, I don't know, 3 o'clock, and then it's. But thank you. I think that's a compliment. That's excellent.
Is it any reason that our club that has MJ in it is we're just about fun and we laugh and we love to get together? Because yeah, that's right. We love her.
Thank you,
having
God.
fun is the fifth way test.
MJ, that's part of it, isn't it? Yeah.
MJ, when I told them what club I was from, they were all like, oh, okay.
Oh, no. We're so sorry. Did they say that? Oh, we're so sorry. All right. So, Dana, is everybody back, do you think?
Yes, they are.
Okay, sweet. So we're just going to take a couple minutes. And so, of course, I would like to see if there's any lone nests in the room here, to see if anybody would like to share maybe a couple of things that they discovered in their breakout session. And then, do I have any lone nuts in the room?
Well, I'll jump in. I had
Thank you, Joe.
Bryce and
Thank you,
Sheila,
Joe.
a couple others. And I think a lot of us shared that our clubs are best known for our local projects and what we accomplish locally, and the partnerships we form thereby. Notable number of projects that each club is known for, and the sustaining nature of our work in our local projects is very important. It's not something that Rotary leaves behind. It's something that Rotary sustains and grows over the years, our local projects. And we're known for our enthusiasm and delivering on what we say we're going to do, our productivity. The impact a club would have if it was doubled, I put down, we didn't get to that question, but I put down with just more good being done in our communities around the world. So, yeah, awesome. So real quick, thank you, Joe. That's awesome. So real quick, everybody in the chat, put down your big dream. Like if you have, what is your big dream? It can be personal or it can be Rotary related, but just in the chat, let's have some fun. Go. Revitalizing my community. Good, Tom, thank you. All right, now they're going so fast I can't read them. Impact global peace, excellent. Oh, grow members, world peace, yes, excellent, Craig. Impact lives, thank you, Ro, awesome. World peace. Peace, I love that, excellent. You guys are fantastic. Okay, so next on our program, we are going to move on to our next video. So Dana, could you go ahead and pop that up for us, please?
I lost custody of my son after my mom passed away. So that alone just made me not tired of life, but just like confused, just not having my son and seeming like I was alone. So it was just a battle.
As a child, I grew up in the foster care system, which meant that there wasn't really anybody that was that one firm place to land, that one place to belong. And so most of my childhood, I felt hopeless. I think for all of us, there's often these moments in our life where it's a before and an after, whether it's the death of somebody, whether that's the start of something, whether it's just this moment where something clicks and you're not the same. We're the 4th in the United States for human trafficking. And for me, it was pretty simple. I wanted to live in a world where little girls and little boys couldn't be bought and sold. I didn't know what that meant, but when I looked at how do we do this, and where I saw that we really fell short was employment.
As I learned more about human trafficking, I was just blown away, absolutely appalled by what goes on right here in Columbus, Ohio. And I felt I needed to do something. So maybe this is my way of contributing to the fight.
When people come to 11th Candle Co. to pour a candle opposed to somewhere else, they're getting more than just the candle. And then they also get like a walkthrough about this is how the women pour the candle. It's just on a bigger scale. So when they're weighing out the fragrance, it's the same as when the women are weighing out the fragrance. When they're pouring the wax and mixing it, it's the same as the women are, just on a bigger scale. So they get more than just the candle that they get to take home. They get the knowledge and they get to know that they're helping a woman in our program.
The candle, me and the candle are friends. So like, I think when you purchase the candle and you take it into your home and you light it, like every strike of a match and the light of a wick is, to me, of the hard work that was going into pouring and making the candle.
in order for us to thrive, we have to have a purpose. And so we create this place of purpose so that women are able to thrive.
So normally when I'm talking to people about the candles, we talk about like how they can donate to Legacy or they can buy the candle for 11th. And it's kind of win-win. With buying the candle, you know that you're giving these women a wage well above minimum wage, trauma-informed care and counseling, but you also get to go home and have this candle that smells amazing in your house, but every single time you look at it, you remember those women that you're helping.
Going on 3 years of my sobriety. I got my son back. I got custody of him back. We got our own apartment. I've been working here for 2 years. I can say that's the first time in my life I ever had a job for that long. I'm better in my spirits. I'm better as a person, as a mother, as a friend. So and I'm proud of that.
It's really fun to watch them grow in areas by just a little bit. It's fun to watch them go from not having a checking account to then coming in and telling me how much money they're putting in their investment account. Everybody's life looks different and everybody wants to achieve and be at a different place. And so to understand that even if we can just move them to full-time employment, that is a huge, huge, huge step in the right direction. My hope for 11th in the next coming years is that we can look at expansion, but look at expansion in a way that we're inviting other people in. So through franchising, through inviting other people to learn how to start 11ths in their very own community. Every community needs an 11th and to provide that hope and to provide that place. And so what does it look like for us to really expand in a natural, beautiful way that allows other people to join in with us and allows them to do that in their very own community?
What I so appreciate about 11th is they're not going to just seasonal hire. We want to make sure that the employment is sustainable. So that's where the growth and the sales need to come in order for that to happen.
When you light a candle, you're not just lighting a candle to bring light into your home, but you're lighting a candle to bring light into the women that we employ. And so I think it's really interesting that even in the 11th hour, that there's still hope, there's always hope, but more than that, that even in the 11th hour of the darkness, that there's always light.
Another great video to introduce our next presenter this morning. And I almost feel like we should just go straight to Amber, but I'm going to speak anyway to give her a proper introduction. What I love about the webpage for 11th Candle, when you go to Amber, it describes her as the founder and visionary of the 11th Candle Company. And that really, I think, says it all about Amber's impact on this organization and what it's doing in our community. Amber is described as a speaker, nurse, candle maker, social entrepreneur, founder and visionary of 11th Candle Company. Amber began her journey as a nurse and went on to do medical missions across the world. While in Ethiopia, she witnessed 2 young girls being sold into human trafficking in broad daylight. In this moment, she realized she didn't want to live in a world where little boys and girls could be bought and sold. In 2015, Amber founded her nonprofit Legacy and the for-profit 11th Candle Company with a mission to redeem, restore, empower, you're hearing that word again, and equip those vulnerable to human trafficking, abuse, exploitation, and addiction. Today, the organization continues to welcome women with employment, trauma-informed counseling, and a safe place to be themselves. Amber has been featured in many magazines, articles, and other media. In August of 2018, she gave a TED Talk in Hilliard, and Alice, my wife, who describes herself as Amber's biggest fan, and I were both present for that TED Talk. She did a fabulous job, and it's also available on YouTube. Amber lives in Lewis Center with her son and 2 dogs. I'm going to just say one more thing about 11th Candle Company. For all of you who get up to Worthington, you need to stop into their new storefront that they just opened at 559 High Street in Old Worthington. And it's quite an experience. I walked in there on Monday to pick up the candles, And the first person I met was Felice, who is the first person featured in the video that you just saw. And it's so cool to see firsthand what people like Amber Runyon are doing in our community. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Amber. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Bryce. Always so nice. Alice, I'm Alice's biggest fan, so I feel the feeling is very mutual. Bryce, you're a close second, but Alice is definitely my favorite. But thanks for having me. I think the topic of today of dreaming is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. And one of the quotes that I've often said is that I believe that if we can teach little girls to dream, that they'll be the force that changes this world. But I believe more than that, that if we can teach broken women to dream like little girls again, it'd be a force that this world is yet to see. Because often we teach women not to be incarcerated. We teach them not to be addicted to drugs, but we never stop and teach them to dream again. And I think that there's such power in that beauty of small, when you're so small and you dreamed of being anything, that you dream that you could fly a plane, or that you, and as we get older and life kind of does what life does to us, we stop dreaming. And so really a big part of our organization is to teach women to dream again. And to dream like little girls. And so really kind of a little overview of our company and kind of where it all came from. I know that was a lot and to kind of break down and all that with Africa and home and all that. And we don't have a ton of time, but I'm going to try to bring it all together to you for you with some storytelling. And so some of the things that our company stands for is employment, empowerment, education. We employ a specific demographic of people on purpose. We employ them on purpose and do the things that we do on purpose. And empowerment, and that's a word that's often been used today. And I think it's just such a good word, because to empower somebody means to impart power. And so to give power, to impart power. And so empowering, a lot of people think that we talk about the women in our program, and we certainly do when we say empower, but really what we talk more about is empowering the consumer. That if we used our dollars to change the world, then we would eradicate hunger and poverty and all these different things. And so that if we are really intentional with the way that we purchase, if all of you spent your money, just your gifts budget, which the average American gift budget is $1,500. If you just used your, I know, I was a little shocked too. If you just used your gift budget and bought from companies similar to ours, it doesn't have to be ours, although we would love your purchasing power, but some companies similar to ours. If you said this year, I'm going to be intentional with the way that I spend my money, we could change things. If everybody in this group, I think I saw at one point there was like 80 some people spent their gift budget with 11th Candle Company specifically, we would be able to employ probably 5 to 6 more women full time. And that's it. You're already going to be spending that money anyways. Just being really intentional about the way that you spend that money can and does change lives. Every time that you spend $1, you cast a vote for what kind of world you want to live in, right? So if you looked at my checking account, you would see that I really value convenience. You would see that I like to get things delivered to me from Mr. Bezos, and that I need to be a bit more conscious about that sort of stuff. And so I think with that, if we just really are intentional and empowered by the way that we spend our money and the way that we consume. And the last is education. That's education from pre-COVID. I spoke at a lot of schools. So really starting in little girls and little boys and teaching them that their dreams matter, and that they do indeed matter. All the way to education such as today. I'm talking about the things that we talk about. One of my favorite stories to kind of bring this all around, you heard briefly that I worked over in Ethiopia. And that is a whole long story. If you'd like to go to our website, there's 2 different kind of sides to our website. The one side is if you just want to buy candles and you think we're great and you love a good lavender candle, I think somebody said a good lavender candle, you can go to that side. If you go to the right side, it talks a little bit more about our story, and that will kind of break it down a little bit more for you there. So when I was in Africa, I just continued to go over time and time again. I'd fallen in love with this community and specifically this little girl. And they kept saying to me, like, we need your help, we need your help, we need your help. And I was a hospice nurse here stateside. I loved my job. There was no part of me that wanted to, start something new or do something new. I enjoyed going over and doing what I did, and we made a great impact. And so they just kept begging me, we need your help, we need your help, we need your help. And in my way of kind of getting myself off the hook, I said, okay, if you can make it sustainable here, then I'll go back and I'll start something, right? Because it's the middle of Ethiopia, there's no running water, no electricity. But that was my way of like, look, if you can make it sustainable, then I'll chip in too, right? And because really it's a big task to take in. And so lo and behold, I woke up in my mosquito net at 3 a.m. With this idea of coffee. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. And so we called this big town hall meeting, and all these people came, and we gave out 2 cups to each hut. right? And I think this is what's so powerful about just the small changes. You guys were kind of talking about that today, that if we can get 100,000 more Rotarians, how much more can we do? And so this story really ties into that. And so we gave each hut a cup, 2 cups. And I said, okay, I want you to, everybody drinks Buna there, right? Coffee is the birthplace of coffee. Everybody drinks it 3 times a day. And I said, I want you out of your Buna roast, I want you to pull out 3 beans and put it over here in this cup. And at the end of the week, just come back and let's see what we have, right? So what I learned was the first day they pulled out 3 and they noticed no difference in their Buna. And the second day they pulled out 6, they noticed no difference in their Buna. The third day they pulled out 9, they noticed no difference in their Buna. It still tasted the same, it still had the same flavor, nothing, but they were saving 9 beans per each roast, right? I think it's kind of what it averaged out to. And so what eventually ended up happening was at the end of the week, they came back and everybody had a full cup, 1 more Buna roast. And so instead of spending that 10 burr, which is pennies on the dollars here, they used that Buna roast and then put that 10 burr into the cup, right? And at the end of 4 weeks, we had enough money to take kids out of, we shut down a complete orphanage and started an in-country foster care program because they saved 9 beans out of each Buna roast. We're 5 years strong and they completely sustained their own in-care foster care system because they saved 9 beans out of each Buna roast. And so I said to them, fair enough, I'm all in. And so I came back and I knew that I wanted to serve not just abroad, because I believe that we are world people. We are not Columbus, Ohio people. We are not Hilliard, Ohio people. We're not even Ohio people, that it's a worldwide thing. And I knew that I wanted to serve both here and there. And I learned that human trafficking is one of the biggest issues in Columbus, Ohio. And when I looked at how we would go from rape to redeemed, how do we solve this from a city, state, and national standpoint, where I saw that we fell short was employment. So I decided to start a company. Did not think it would be a real company. Did not think we would turn 5. Did not think we'd have a couple locations. But here we are, and forever grateful for that. And kind of the last thing that I'll leave you guys with is, I heard earlier a couple of times the word obligation and opportunity were said at a number of different times. And I actually have a Post-it note that lives on my laptop, and it says obligation or opportunity. And so what I've learned is that work does become an obligation, certainly. Rotary Club becomes an obligation. You have to fundraise and you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you have to mow your lawn and you have all these obligations. But what I've learned is that if I choose that it's an opportunity to connect, it's an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity to do whatever, then it changes things. So let it never be an obligation for me to serve the women that I service, but always be an opportunity to grow.
Wow. You are amazing, Amber. Thank you so
you.
much for being here and sharing your story. You know what I really like is this year, so each year Rotary has a theme, and this year is Rotary Opens Opportunities. So your comment about obligation or opportunity really fits well with this year. And then moving from this year to next year, our theme is Serve to Change Lives. And, you know, and it's just what you're doing. You're certainly serving to change lives, and your opportunities are changing lives. I subscribe to a guy by the name of Darren Hardy, and he talks about, there's a book he wrote called The Compound Effect, where, you know, you don't necessarily see the impact if you do something like little bites at a time. You don't realize that, you know, 1 coffee bean or 3 coffee beans a day, you don't necessarily see the impact on a daily basis, but then like you said, at the end of the month or into the 3 months or 6 months, you then have like a whole cup of beans and things that you can do. So great story. You are doing some amazing things, and you've really, we really do appreciate you being here. Does anybody have any questions for Amber? We might have a couple of minutes or two for Amber. And your candles are amazing. Let me just say that.
Thank you so much.
I got the salt and rosemary, and that's like, I'm like meditating, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a really good one for like a smaller room. It's a good fresh one, yeah.
Yeah. So Diane has a question. Diane, go ahead.
Amber, that's a great presentation. One thing I want to ask you, are you a Rotarian yet?
That a girl.
If I were going to be a Rotarian, I am not yet. I feel like Price Finley would probably get the twist of my hand in that. I actually just bought a house in downtown Delaware, Ohio. But
I was going to invite you to Athens. You would love Athens.
Liz, I grew up in Coolville.
Oh my goodness, is that right?
Oh, very.
I grew up in Coolville. Yeah. I spent probably a good 7 years of my life there. I think 7 or 8 years of my childhood there. So you could easily twist me to Athens. Price could maybe twist my arm to Upper Arlington. I'm not a Rotarian yet, but I should. One of my favorite things about Rotary, I knew about Rotary before kind of doing this because of my nursing work. And I just was like, that was the coolest thing ever. The coolest thing ever to like what you guys did with polio. I just love every part of that. So
you're invited to the Delaware Club. There's 3 of us on the line. 100 some members. We'd love to host you for a lunch and maybe have you as a speaker. If you could add your contact information at the chat box, we'd really love it.
Yep.
My real question, Amber, is
yes, ma'am.
So where are you going forward? Do you just want to grow the concept that you have, or are you thinking some other coffee bean ideas?
So here's what I've learned about myself in all of this is that I'm a really good starter and I'm a really good motivator. Once we start to get into the mundane of things, I begin to get a little weary, if you will. And so my goal in the next 6 to 12 months is to find somebody to operate in that CEO role. I don't ever really think that I am CEO, but somebody to operate in that role. And I would love to figure out ways to franchise this because I believe every community needs an 11th.
Amber, you can't join the same club as Mary Jane because one club could not handle both of you. I mean, you're so enthusiastic.
Mary Jane, I feel like you and I would be slight firecrackers together. We'd have to sit at the same table.
Yeah,
that's for certain.
Don says we're sisters, so we probably are.
I love it. I love it. Connected. I do see a question that somebody said the story about the name 11th. Somebody asked that. I think it was Corey. And I'll be really brief. And so it is based off of the parable of Matthew 25. And if you're not a believer, a parable is just a story. So follow from that place too. And it's about the worker in the field. And so essentially these foremen go out into the market to find people to work. And at the beginning of the day, they tell them, "Will you work for 25 denarii?" And they say yes. And so they come out and they work in the field and they go back out into the market, even until the 11th hour, which will be like 4 p.m. Meaning the day usually ends at 5-ish, and he goes out and there are still people standing there, and he says to them, "Why do you stand here idle and not work?" And they said, "Because nobody will hire us." And he says, "You too go work in the field." And so at the end of the day, he tells the foreman to pay the first ones last, or the first ones last and the last ones first. So the ones that only worked an hour, they got 25 denarii, and they were the first ones to be paid. And the last ones, they kind of got there and they were a little bit grumbly and not very happy about the fact that they had bore the labor of the day and the heat of the sun, and yet they were getting paid 25 denarii. And he said to them, "Did you not agree to that?" He said, "So shall it be, that the first shall be last and the last shall be first." And so we believe that even until the 11th hour, that there's always hope.
Wow, great. Thank you, Amber. We've got the time for one more question, and it looks like Chuck and Shan, I don't know which one has the question. So Chuck's got the question. Okay.
Yeah, it's me.
Go ahead, Chuck.
How are you guys in your business model? How are you handling healthcare?
Yeah, so we are a small business. We, I think, currently have 8 people employed full time. And so healthcare is a harder thing for smaller businesses such as ours. But the majority of the women in our program are still eligible for some sort of government help because of either the programming that they're in or so on and so forth. And so thankfully, knock on wood, we've not had to like really tackle that. And then a number of the people that work in our home, what we call home office, haven't needed that either. And so that is a tough thing for a small business, especially with the year that 2020 gave us. And so we haven't yet, but we provide coaching and counseling to the women, and that is through our nonprofit, helps pay for that and burden the load of that. And so that is something that we just pay for out of pocket. We work with a pretty dynamic group of trauma therapists.
Cool. Thank you. So Amber, I'm going to toss out the same invitation that I did to Paula, and we, Rotary International President-elect Shaker says that he wants us to kind of find projects that empower women and empower girls. And your vision statement that you repeated at the beginning of the presentation and also on your website basically has that same kind of mantra. So I would love to chat with you offline about some ways that maybe Rotary, the district, and Rotary clubs can support you in your mission and what you're doing. And as Price and Craig and I were putting together the care packages to those that registered early and talking about what you do with the candles, that you'll allow us to do fundraisers, because I think Alice basically developed her own label but used your candle with your mission and her mission. So I really see that there might be some sort of a Rotary project in the future using
I
the
think
11th
we should
Candle
make a,
Company.
I think we should make a Rotary peace candle, and a portion of the proceeds, and name it peace, and a portion of the proceeds would go to Rotary Club's projects. Be a great way to fundraise it, and it could be something that's sold nationwide, and we'd ship it right out. We partnered for people, I think all of us are in Ohio, the Harmony Project. We partnered with them and did a specific Harmony candle, and so we would love to do a Rotary peace candle.
Oh, you all heard it. There's 76 witnesses, so it's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
The dream big. The dream big is happening. The big dream is happening. So thank you so much, Amber. You are amazing.
I am a starter. I am. But once I get into the mundane, I'm like, I gotta start something else. I gotta get out of here. So 5 years was enough. 5 years was enough. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for always supporting us and whatnot. And my contact information is in there, but Price can also connect you, or just Google 11th. I'm sure you'll find me. I'm not that hard. Fine.
All right. Thank you so much, Amber. Keep up the great work. We love that you're a dreamer. Thank you. All right. I'm so excited. This has been an amazing day so far. Is everybody having a good time? Woohoo! Okay. So part 2 of the Dream Team exercise is going to happen now. So, so Dana, if you could pull up the graphic, and then I'll go ahead and set the stage. So, all right, so we've got the Rotary buses up. So we've had the opportunity to hear 2 amazing stories. Amber and Paula have had big dreams, and they're fulfilling those dreams by changing the lives of girls and women in the Columbus area and also internationally. Now it's time for us to continue the conversation of creating our big dream Rotary story. So let me set the scene. Let's pretend that you are that lone nut that I spoke about earlier this morning, that we're ready to create a movement that everyone will want to be a part of. Let's imagine that we're about to embark on the most fantastic journey of our lives aboard the Rotary bus. We are the rising phoenixes. We are the blank etch-a-sketches. We are the lone nut. Our big dream is to change the world and make it a better place. You know that we have friends. We know that we have friends. We have other people of action that want to go on this bus ride with us, but you know that the work is bigger than just the friends we have. We need additional people to jump on the bus. So how do you convince that first follower that she wants to get on the bus with you? I'm going to now bring back the Dream Team to help us all begin to put together our stories. I'm going to toss it to Jenny, who knows a little bit about how to get a dance party started in a crowd of thousands. Jenny?
Thanks, MJ. She told me she was going to send me a question that I would know how to answer, but she didn't tell me what it was. So I happened to have been in Toronto at a certain Rotary International convention with a handful of other lone nuts. And we walked into a convention with thousands and thousands of people. And we decided it would be fun to dance. We thought it was kind of boring. They were playing music. Everyone was sitting around looking at their phones. And we danced for a total of 6 songs completely alone before finally everyone joined us. And I hear we even delayed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau coming out onto stage by a few minutes because they were waiting for this huge convention center full of people to finish dancing. So sometimes the lone nuts have to dance a little bit on their own before people get inspired by that. And so thank you, MJ, for letting me share that story. It's one of my favorite Rotary memories. And so I think when I think about this bus and what it means and how we engage people and how we entice people to want to join this, Amber said something that I think was really powerful. And she talked about how your choices about spending are actually decisions that you're making that are much bigger than just, are you getting this product or that product? And I think that everything, like I said before, everything in Rotary is an opportunity to engage. I think every decision we make has an impact on someone or something. So whether that's how we're spending our money, whether that's a decision about, right, if you're going to choose a product that's wrapped in plastic or one that's just on the shelf, if you're buying produce, that's a decision that you're making that has an impact on our environment. And I think in Rotary, the impact you make is the decision that you make about how you're going to spend your time. And so when you decide to spend your time in something in Rotary, that's a much bigger than you decision that you're making, right? We're the ones carrying out this work, but it's much bigger than any one of us, because we're joined by all of the people on this call, all of the people in your club, all of the people in the world who have made that same decision as you to spend their time with Rotary. And, you know, I asked in the chat box earlier, why are you a member? And people tend to say service, they tend to say fellowship. And I say, why does service matter? Why does fellowship matter to you? And I hope that you thought about that in the first breakout of why does this even matter? For me, Rotary is very personal because it's how I carry out my kind of life's mission. And I very much believe that people have the capacity to do good in the world. And I very much believe in people in that way. And, you know, I try to kind of live that in my time in Rotary and be very intentional about my time in Rotary. So I invite you all to think about that for yourselves of why are you even standing in line waiting to get on the bus, and think about that a little bit.
The theme I'm hearing today is, in addition to dream big, which I guess is officially the theme, which is big, the other side of that is small. It's the small things that add up that accomplish the big dream. So ask people for small favors, do small favors for people. That, to me, that's how you get people on the bus. It's show how all these things add up to something greater than any one of us.
So we've picked some good, you know, imagery. We started with the flywheel and the Rotary kind of logo, and now we're on the bus. And I think what this brings to me is, okay, we started with this idea, we all have our own Rotary dream. When you ask that question, there may be, you know, a million variations of why you're here. So how do we all get on the bus? How do we go from what the typical highway looks like of all of us in our own car, on our own journey, on our thing? That's not the Rotary mission. That's not how we accomplish things. It's how do we bring everyone together? How do we all get us on the same path and on the same bus, and the willingness to do that? And I think the key kind of story of all the things, and again, I'm probably pulling from the two ladies who spoke today, is the ability to empower others. Sometimes the best way to get someone on the bus is not to you drive and say, hey, will you get on the bus with me? But to really say, I love what you're doing. How do we make that successful? How do we invest in what you believe in? And knowing that the people on this call are really, you know, you're the leaders in your club. And so as you think about how you bring other people in and how you know, build the bus that is your club, that is our, you know, your Rotary journey, how do you get people in is maybe sometimes you're the person who has to take the seat in the back and allow somebody to say, it's your turn to lead. It's your turn. What's your vision? Where do we want to go? And empowering people. And I think that not only does that give people that sense of purpose or that sense of belonging, but it lets them know that their voice matters too. So I think the encouragement is not only to think about what your journey is, but how do you share that and how do you get other people with you? And I think that was the story of both these people, is they've started amazing companies that are changing the lives of others, but really it's by giving those people the keys to run their own story, not because they're saying, hey, I've got this great journey, get on with me. They're empowering them to run their own, and they're stepping back and basically giving that power away. And so sometimes the best way to lead is that idea of growing other people. And so I think that's this metaphor, and why I like this metaphor so much is that instead of us all riding in our own car, doing our own thing, Rotary really is about bringing us together and trying to go somewhere, accomplish something together, and hopefully support and empower each other in that journey.
Yeah, I think, you know, when we were planning for this session, we just got together a couple of times and talked about what our goals or what our intention, what we hoped people would get out of this. And we use the word journey a lot because, right, making a difference or dreaming big isn't a box you check. It's not necessarily a specific place. The fun isn't in getting there. And I think to Larry's great point about inviting people, on the bus or, inviting people into Rotary with us is, much like that bus is going to change every time someone joins our Rotary clubs, our district changes every single time someone new gets involved, because they bring their ideas, their expertise, they bring their own connections. So if we, continue on with our bus analogy here today, is that, imagine every time someone gets on the bus, they know of the next great spot of where you should stop, the next great place where you should see something, kind of, hey, everyone look out the left side of the bus right now, something cool is about to happen. And I think that's the magic of Rotary, is there's some power in when you just get Rotary members together and get them talking and dreaming, and it just kind of starts that conversation. And we just watched in about 90 seconds, as Amber was finishing up her talk, what will likely be a great service project and a great thing that we do. And that just came because there's a group of us here who got excited about an idea, and someone threw it out there, right? That lone person threw it out there and said, this could work. People get excited about it. And I think that's really the power and magic of Rotary that we need to harness and replicate and continue to share.
Yeah, I think that's the tough part, is harnessing that magic and sharing that magic, even within our own clubs. So I'm picturing a lot of clubs with people sitting on the bus, just like going to work every day. And how do we convey what we're hearing today, which is really inspiring? How do we bring that back to our clubs in a way that gets people to say, let's listen to a new voice, or let's think about a different place to go today that is more inspiring than where we're currently going?
And
I think that's a difficult thing to do, and I think what we struggle with, but today is a great start toward that.
And I guess my final thoughts is goes back to where we started with those conversations with MJ. We're talking about the Dream Big and the Dream Big workshop and kind of what that means. And, if you listen to MJ's opening comments, she put out some pretty big things there about changing the world. I mean, every one of those things would be life impacting, not just here in Ohio, but around the world. How do we get there? And I think it's easy to say, well, can't accomplish that if I'm a small club of 25, or I can't. But what I would challenge you to say is, actually, when this bus is fueled, when it's got the energy of multiple people on there with common passion and willing to work, there really isn't anything you can't do. And Rotary is the perfect example of that, because all you have to think back to that, even the thing that was brought up, where did polio start? One doctor, then a couple club members saying we could do one drive once. 30 years later, we won't be the ones who get the credit for it probably when it's all said and done, but we started that movement to eradicate a devastating disease around the world. There isn't another organization anywhere that did it. And it started with a simple idea of somebody who went and saw something that they just basically couldn't stomach, said, we can do something about this. And it started with, a small drive that others said, well, if they can do that, hell, we can do that too. Let's help them do it. And you think where we are. So I challenge you not to limit where you think you can go, is the fact that any club can change the world. Because if you're on the right path, it's amazing. It's not just the clubs, there'll be another club that joins you. Whether we look at our district and the life pumps, it's like something that starts small, and then other clubs say, well, we'll contribute to that. We'll get on that bus. We'll ride that journey with you. You can have an impact. So I think the nice other metaphor with what MJ is putting out there for us is, there really is nothing you can't do. There's no dream on that horizon you can't get to if that's where you want to go. And your membership, you have that gang of people with you who believe in you and want to be there. So I challenge the leaders that are in the room to allow their members to dream big, pick those big items, and then figure out how you're going to get there.
I saw Price applauding in one section. I think what he was applauding was, watch what other, not your words, Larry, but paraphrasing, watch what the other clubs are doing and saying, hey, that's cool. Can we join you? So it's not just about a member in your club and letting them lead, but let another club lead and, follow that club. And what can we do together bigger?
You guys are amazing. So I thank you guys for your stories and for talking about the Rotary bus. The thing that I love, and all three of them have mentioned this and talked about this, and even our two presenters talked about it, the empowering. You know, I have my story, I have my why, but if I share my why with somebody else and get them engaged, we get on the bus, you know, and then we drive down the road together to that big dream. There was like a scenario or something that I read or heard that, you know, each one of us are planting seeds today. And so the seeds that we plant today are those plants and things that will grow tomorrow. So you never know what kind of impact you're going to have. You know, you might think that there's this project that I'm doing, sure, it has some significance at the present moment, but you have no idea what influence and what we can be doing and what's actually happening in other people's lives because of the things that we're doing. So we need to encourage individuals to get on the bus with us and drive down this road and have some fun while we're doing it and dream big. So I want to just take maybe another about 10 minutes, Dana, for a breakout session. Everyone should have received the second document. It has that fabulous Rotary bus on it, the Big Dream Journey. So let's do another breakout session, unmute and accept your room, and we'll be in that room for another 10 minutes and try to keep everybody kind of on schedule. So off to breakout rooms. We'll see you in 10. Sweet. Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you found that breakout session to be just as fun and exciting as the first one. And who would like to be a lone nut and maybe share an idea about how we can engage and get people on the Rotary bus? Does anybody, do I have a lone nut? Okay.
I'll jump in, MJ.
Thank you, Wolf.
Sure. We talked about making it fun, make it a contest, share the vision, make sure everybody's on the same page, trying to let people come up with their own project that hits all the values and goals of all the members in the club. So one person said that, you know, their passion was about kids, and, you know, we talked about the recent food pantry project. Well, that benefits kids too. So even though it might not specifically be targeted at kids, it certainly benefits them. So, and then share the results weekly and keep the momentum going. Maybe break it down into smaller tasks, and every week you focus on a new thing. So that kind of helps keep it fresh.
Yeah, love that, Wolf. Thank you so much. Jessica, you've got your hand up. Do you want to share?
Yeah, so our group talked about some of the things that we learned within the year of becoming the president, and which is sharing your story. And it's what Larry and Jenny and you guys have talked about, which is finding out what each person can get involved in, what is their own passion, and then what can they get involved in, and kind of going back to focus on the 7 areas of purpose with Rotary, and sharing with the club members that there's a place for everyone. You can, you know, what's your story, what's your passion, and then even if it's 2 or 3 members that get involved in a service group that is involved in that passion, that's great, because when we all do a little bit together, like Rotary, we can do a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And kind of what Larry said about, you know, there's multiple seats on the bus. And so, you know, we get people on the bus, but then we sit back because we want them to be engaged and them to be excited, and, you know, and have Rotary serve something that fits their big dream. So that's awesome. So do I have any other volunteers that wants to share? Empower all members. Thank you, Tom. Ryan, yes, Ryan.
Pretty similar, I think, to what Wolf said. And I don't know that this is going to be like a formal RFP process or anything like that, but before the start of each month, solicit ideas from members. You know, what's something you want us to help you do next month or in 2 months? We've probably been doing the same 4 or 5 or 6 service projects for at least 10 years, with just a couple minor exceptions here and there. Now is a great time to get people involved by pitching the club on what it is they want to do, and we'll help you do it.
Yes, that's awesome. That's the big Etch-a-Sketch, right? Right? We just, you know, we're going to just shake it up a little bit and draw a new picture. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to eliminate things that we've always done, but we're just going to mix it up and add. So I love that. I think, Lynn, you have your hand up.
I do. I have to unmute. When I was first in Rotary, I had a personal life situation where my pregnant wife at the time, whatever, took me away. And I was really pretty sure I couldn't be a Rotarian anymore. The president of the club called me. She asked, "What's going on and how can we help?" She didn't say, you know, you signed up to do entertainment book sales and we're behind or anything like that. She said, "How can we help?" And what she did say was, "What are you passionate about?" Because what you probably don't realize is how diverse Rotary is and all the different things we can do. And I was coaching baseball, and I said, you know, there's these baseball diamonds, Hilliard Baseball Association, 3 of them, Little League diamonds. They're terrible. When I was a kid, they were awful, weeds and broken backstops and everything. That year, the Rotary Club fixed those 3 diamonds up better than they'd ever been. And I was coaching at the time that very year, and I was a new member. I didn't expect that kind of response, but that was something that she demonstrated, you know, was demonstrated to me just how Rotarians get through acquaintance and resources. And, you know, we had to get permission from the schools, from the city. We had to, you know, do stuff that was official, but there were acquaintances within the Rotary Club and Hilliard that made that a very successful weekend. And I went to the next coaches meeting for HBA and standing ovation. It wasn't me, it was Rotary Club, you know, it was one of those. And I like to share that story because that was my first experience with just how able Rotarians are to get things done when we realize the power of acquaintance. So
yeah, that's a terrific story. I love it that she had the you know, the thought to ask you, like, what do you want? What do you need help for? What are you passionate about? And then you mentioned it, probably not realizing that that actually was going to have some sort of an impact or something was going to happen out of that. And because of the power of Rotary, that they made a difference. So,
and I was ready to drop out of Rotary because I thought I was not useful to Rotary or unable to be, you know, what I needed to do.
Yeah, that goes back to who was sharing that story? Price, is that you who was sharing the story about the Rotarian who played the piano or something? Who was that shared that with me? That they thought that their only purpose in their club was, it was a singing club, and their only purpose was to sing. But since, you know, we moved to COVID and there was no piano and you couldn't sing, that they no longer had any purpose within the club. So and so if that was your only, maybe it was Larry Jenkins that shared that story. But that just goes to show that, you know, we need to share our dreams with all of our members and say that each one of us is important and each one of us have impact, and, you know, and we're doing more than just singing a song. We're changing lives of those, not only of our club members, but of our community and the world. So might have time for one last share if anybody wants to share.
I was going to say, Lynn, that president that called you was a good leader, because the definition of a leader is getting things done through other people. So if the leadership in the club doesn't reach out to the people, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, great. You're absolutely right, Don. Thank you so much. Okay, so it's been a long morning. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to begin creating your Rotary story. And I realize that we're not going to be able to actually get the complete story finished on paper today, but I hope that you at least have some things down that you will use and share with your clubs as we move into this, as we finish this Rotary year and move into the next Rotary year. We've got a few last finishing remarks that we're going to make, but I also want everyone to know before the remarks from Price, David, and myself, I want to let you know that there's going to be 4 breakout rooms set up for after this portion is over. Jenny will be in one room, Larry will be in a room, and Dave will be in a room, and then I'll stay in the main room. So if you're a president-elect or a president that has questions about foundation to reach your foundation goal for this year, or if you're looking at doing some projects for next year, you want to talk to Larry about the district grant, please go to Larry's room. If you've got membership questions for Jenny, we are going to be rolling out the Each One Bring One campaign. So if you've got some membership concerns or questions, please go to Jenny's room. Dave, we're going to be doing a public image grant. So if you have some questions regarding public image or social media, please go to Dave's room, and you can actually, you'll be able to pop in from room to room. So if you have multiple questions for these individuals, you get your question answered from Larry, but I have a question for Jenny, you can go to room. And of course, I'll be in the main room. So if you have any questions for me, I will be here as well. So with that being said, Price, do you have any closing remarks?
Jay, I'll just be really quick here because I know we want to get on to the breakout rooms, but I've had a great morning, and this just reinforces how much I enjoy being with all of you, and how important the work we do through Rotary to serve our communities is. And I've got a lot to think about, actually. I mean, these worksheets, I'm going to continue to sit with these questions. I think anyone who's entering into any leadership role in their club should take the time to continue to sit with these questions, because I think they could really form a great way to develop their plan for helping their club move forward. There's a story from the New Testament Bible that talks about a light under a bushel basket, and I know that has an important spiritual component to it, but I feel like for me, Rotary is an aspect of my spiritual life, and I feel like all of us, we need to let our lights shine out in the community as we do really important work.
I love that.
To help the communities and to really help each other. And I feel like I've been enriched by this program this morning in so many ways, and it makes me proud to be a Rotarian. It makes me proud to put my Rotary pin on my shirt, or to wear my Rotary garb here, even the tie-dye shirt, MJ. So it's just, again, I can't tell you how fun it's been to be with all of you this morning.
Thank you, Price. And I don't know what you mean about the tie-dye shirt. I think everybody loves the tie-dye shirt. All right, so David, do you have any final remarks you'd like to share with the group?
I'll be brief as well, maybe a little briefer than Price's briefness, but nevertheless, Price, I couldn't agree more with you. What a great morning it has been, and whether you're a person of faith or not, I think what Price is suggesting is absolutely right. So often we do things and we know that we do it, and we know there's an impact, and we haven't really let our light shine and let others know about it as well, where we miss the opportunity to really spread the great seeds of Rotary around the community. And so it's just been so great. What great speakers we had this morning, and not only from the organizations where they came to speak, but from our own internal district leadership as well. And so I'm so appreciative of everyone who spoke, and congratulations to you, MJ, and your team for putting together such a great morning. As we close this time out, or get ready to move into the next portion of this time together, we have so many district leaders, so many of you at the local club level who are passionate about Rotary, about service, and this is going to be a year of transition. There's no doubt about it as we continue forward. But given what we've heard today, given the fact that we know that Rotary opens opportunities, given the fact that we know that we are working together to serve, to change lives as we go forward, and to dream big as we do so, I can't help but be excited about this coming year and the years to come as well. And so, just like as Price said, I'm unbelievably proud to wear the Rotary tie-dye t-shirt and to continue forward with each of you as we move into the coming year. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time and investing in Rotary and in yourselves for this morning. And thanks again to you, MJ, for just a really great morning.
Well, thank you, David. And as all of you can see, the district is going to be in wonderful hands with Price and David as they follow me. The story that I have to share with everyone, it's kind of funny. When I was Rotary president of our club back in 15, 16, we had an attorney follow me was the president after me, and I thought, oh great, they're going to need an attorney to kind of fix the club once I get finished. And it's kind of funny that Price is an attorney, so as I'm district governor, we need an attorney to follow me on this route. But the district is really in great hands. We've got Price and David and Steve have all been incredibly supportive and amazing. Your dream team, Jenny and Larry and Dave are amazing, and the AGs and Fran and Ro and just everybody. We've got a great district, and I'm just very proud to represent all of you and to accept this position and get this journey going. I love this lyric from John Lennon's song, Imagine. He says, you say I'm a dreamer, but I know I'm not the only one. Being a big dreamer doesn't mean that we are walking around with our heads in the clouds. It means that we are seeking a purpose for our lives, and it means that we are becoming fulfilled in the process. As Rotary International President-elect Shekar says, we are all change makers. Of course we are. We're Rotarians, and we will change the world together. So I challenge you to go back to your clubs and finish putting together your Rotary story, and then share your story with as many people as you can so that we can grow more and do more, so that we can get as many people on that Rotary bus. I challenge you to be that lone nut. Any big thing that has ever been accomplished in this world has been possible because somebody dreamt it. To quote Christopher Reeve, so many of our dreams are first seen impossible. Then they seem improbable. And then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. Thank you for spending your morning with me and your dream team. It's going to be an amazing Rotary year as we dream big and serve to change lives.